folks, Marc here from Maple Capital Partners. And in this video, we're going to talk about productivity hacks. That is tools and technology and systems to be able to better manage your time. We're all really swamped with different things, different demands on our day. And as entrepreneurs, it's really important that we're most productive as possible with our time on our business so that we have enough free time to be able to focus on the things that bring us joy in life, whether that's time with family, time to relax, things like that. But you'll never get to that if you're swamped with too much tedium or too many tedious tasks that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So these are some of the tools that I'm using to be able to better manage my time as someone with a W-2 job as well as a business on the side. A lot of folks think that's impossible, but it really just requires of you a better system or set of systems to be able to manage that time effectively. So first of all, I'll talk about time blocking, which is something where I use Google Calendar. A lot of folks can use whatever calendar they're already using, Outlook or otherwise. But what I try to do is go throughout the week, throughout my days, and schedule different time blocks for different things I need to get done. So whether that's meetings with people on my team, whether that's time for deep work where I'm turning off everything, putting the phone in the other room, just focusing on doing the work that's going to move my business forward. Also, besides the things that are super focused on the business, I also have my personal things scheduled in there as well. I'm not somebody that thinks, I'm just going to be on all the time throughout the day. That's not sustainable, and that's how you get burned out. So I think it's really important to time block different blocks for relaxation, for time in between meetings, or time for reflection, time for family time, exercise, all the things that really bring you joy and are going to ensure that when you are focused on the business, you're as productive as possible. Now, this comes from a number of different books, this time blocking concept. I've also heard the same from a number of different mentors of mine, but really it comes down to budgeting your time. We budget for so many things in our lives. You might have a budget for your household, for your business, but after all, what's more scarce than money? When you budget for your own budget, that's usually based around how much money you can spend. It's your time is the most scarce resource that you have as an entrepreneur, and so that should be budgeted accordingly as well. So the next thing that I use in tandem with the time blocking in my Google Calendar is I use Calendly. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can get a look at what that actually looks like. So my Calendly is set up. I just have one event type now, but if you want, you can build out a number of different types of events that you can have on here. But what Calendly does is it basically allows you to save time scheduling. So instead of having this back and forth via email or text with folks saying, hey, when can you meet? Are you free this time? Oh no, I'm not free at that time. Are you free at this time? And having that whole dance back and forth, what I've found to be most effective is I just send them a link to my Calendly. They're able to see what my calendar actually looks like. That is, when are the free time blocks, and they can schedule according to what of those time blocks that I'm available for that they're also available for. So it saves us a lot of those questions back and forth. The other thing that I try to include here on this booking page is I try to ask folks a couple of questions to be able to set up that meeting. I try to ask them things like, what is the purpose of this meeting? What do you want to get out of this meeting? Is there anything that Marc can do to prepare for this meeting so that we can be most efficient with the time that we have on that call? I always like to get an agenda from folks who are setting my time. Number one, it sets kind of a high bar for folks they have to be able to put together an agenda to be able to actually schedule the time. So that, believe it or not, does have somewhat of a deterring effect on folks that don't really have too much of an agenda or they really haven't thought about my time. And I also think that also somewhat kind of elevates the importance of my time. That's in no means to take away from anybody else, but I think if I'm going to take time away from other things, other priorities I have going on, it's really important that we have an idea of what we're trying to accomplish. It's really important for you to protect your own time, and that's going to be a theme that I hope I emphasize throughout the rest of this video, the importance of that. And what you want to do is you don't want to have meetings where there's really no purpose or no intent to the meeting. And those questions that I set up, and they really give me an idea of what that person is looking to get out of the meeting. So that's Calendly. The next thing that I'll kind of point out is my productivity planner. And that's this right here. This is actually borrowed from a commercial product, which is also called Productivity Planner. So I hope they don't have an issue with me naming my tool after theirs. But this is something that I used really during the pandemic when I had a lot of free time and a lot of different things I could have been spending my time on. It really helped me focus on what are the high value tasks I need to set aside each day. And it kind of boils down to just a few things each week that I'm trying to get done, and then walking those back to, okay, what does that mean on a daily basis? Which of those am I going to take on today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? And at the end of the week, I'm reflecting back on what I was able to accomplish, what are the tasks that weren't able to get done, and then what am I going to recommit to in the following week. It's a really good thing in terms of maintaining my focus, making sure that I'm keeping the things that are important and urgent at the top of my list, and not getting sidetracked by the daily demands of my inbox and calls and all kinds of other things that are constantly vying for my time. So I would highly recommend putting something like this in place. You can see here, these are my weekly tasks. These are mapped out to my daily tasks. I have an estimate for how long it's going to take me, and that helps make sure that I'm not dilly-dallying around when I'm supposed to be focused on one of these things. And then I have the actual amount of time that it actually took me. So you can see I have one of these for each week, and then at the end of the week, I go back and do that reflection that I was talking about earlier. So that's the productivity planner. The next thing that I would talk about is Blink, which Blink has really taken the place for me in terms of being my business card for folks when I meet them. And I also, by the way, don't just give this to folks in person, but I'll actually send this as a link if somebody wants to get to know me or wants to know my contact information, whatever the case may be. I'll send them this link to my Blink. I have a QR code on my phone that when I go to conferences or different meetups, events like that, I'll have people scan that. Not only does it allow them to get my information, but it also allows me to capture their contact information. So I can get them into my CRM and we can actually build a relationship. The business card for me is a little bit of an antiquated thing, the actual paper business card. And I think this is much simpler. After all, you can change this on the fly. So you can see here, I've got a number of different links here. I've got book a call with me, using link Calendly, like I mentioned earlier, website, my social media, YouTube channel, some other useful links. So I can change this at any point if I want to include or exclude certain other things. I'm going to kind of take a look at another tool that we use, and I tend to give this to folks when I meet them in person as well. If they want to know even more about me, I'll send them my link tree, or if I have a podcast I'm going to appear on, or I want somebody to know a little bit more about me prior to meeting me, then I'll send them my link tree, which has a number of different useful links to it. So you can see here, this is my link tree. This is what folks would see on their phone. It's a number of different useful links. So again, that Calendly link, our website, our story, this is a video, our YouTube channel, a number of different podcast episodes I've done, a lead magnet here. It's up to you how you want to leverage this. There's a number of different things you could put in here in terms of links. But again, something that you can edit on the fly and simply just send to someone if they want to, if you're meeting somebody for the first time, hey, by the way, this is a little bit more about me in preparation for our call or in preparation for us meeting in person. So that's another really big tool in terms of shortening the gap between me not knowing someone and them having a good idea of who I am and kind of what I'm about. So the next thing I'm going to talk about, it's not going to be a link that I share on my screen, but it's going to be Dropbox. And that's really a tool that I use for file management. I tend to partner on bigger deals, bigger real estate deals with a number of other folks. And it's really important that we're able to share different documents and have them stored somewhere so they're in a really organized way so that we're able to get those whenever we need them. And so that file storage and file organization strategy is going to be really, really key. This is not nice to have. If you're not organized, you're going to be making your life a lot harder. And after all, you're going to be putting your investments at risk. So you want to make sure that you have, whether it's Google Drive or Dropbox or a number of other databases out there to be able to manage your files. Also, I would think very intentionally about how you manage those files. What is your approach? What's your hierarchy of files or taxonomy? A lot of different words refer to how you organize files and in the structure in which you kind of store things, because you want to make it really easy to get to the files that matter to you. So in our case, we have a structure where we put different properties into different folders, and then we have a really straightforward taxonomy that's, what's the acquisition folder, the operations folder, maybe a tax folder, a number of other folders related to CapEx, maybe. What are the different areas within those properties that you kind of want to organize things? So being really intentional about that is key, because again, it's not just you as you scale your business in real estate, it's a team sport. And so working on those teams, it's going to require that you coordinate and remain organized. And on any given day as an operator, you're going to be pulled in a lot of different directions. You're going to need to have access to potentially hundreds of different files. Also, by the way, in another vein, when you are investing on behalf of others. They're entrusting you to act like a professional, to manage their investment. And that's a serious responsibility. And it's going to require a really thoughtful approach to how you save and organize documents. So for the deals that we do today, we have that template that I mentioned to organize our Dropbox so that if anybody ever comes to us with a question, we can either send them a direct link to our Dropbox where they can see the document themselves, or we're able to actually find them and send them over. So that's file storage. Next, I'm going to be talking about project management, which we use a tool called Asana. There are a number of other tools out there, Monday.com, ClickUp, Trello, we've used Airtable, a lot of really cool products out there, just depending on your budget, depending on what you're looking for. But we leverage Asana. We leverage them during our property management calls, during our asset management calls. It really helps us organize ourselves and the agenda and the itinerary for what we're trying to get done. So again, commercial real estate is a team sport, and those teams need coordination. And so having that project management software, it means that you're going to be able to more effectively manage your products. And it doesn't matter if your team is composed of the best rock stars in the world. If you don't have a professional approach to project management, you're not going to be able to succeed. There's so many different tasks that are going on, and you're not going to know or be able to keep track of the handoffs and who owns what and deadlines and financial goals and the ownership responsibilities of different tasks. So that all has to be tracked somewhere. So in order to be able to best manage that, we have used a number of different softwares in the past, including Excel, but we found that Asana tends to be the best. This can also, by the way, be used not just for big real estate deals. This could be used on a small basis or even when you're getting started. So you managing your acquisition pipeline could be in Asana or another project management software. So don't think that you need to get to a certain level or a certain scale to be able to have project management software. I think this is really something that anybody can get started with. You could get started today by demoing Asana, which is a free software if you'd like. Now, project management's great. What about the customers? What about the investors or the vendors or stakeholders in your real estate projects? So that all comes into your CRM, your customer relationship management software. In our case, we use HubSpot. Taking a step back, real estate's a relationship business. So making sure that you're touching base with your relationships, building those and nurturing those relationships is really of paramount importance. If you want to grow and scale your portfolio, it's not done alone. And so I know in generations past, that might have meant keeping a Rolodex. If you want to go ahead and keep track of your contacts that way, be my guest, but I would not recommend that. So today's world, you might get more bang for your buck by using a software like HubSpot, which is what we use. In today's world, you're not in the same physical location many times as many of your partners and stakeholders in your business. So keeping in touch with those folks is even more important when you're not physically there near them. In addition, we're also living in a society that's increasingly becoming difficult to maintain relationships over long periods. So there are a lot of different things competing for our time. And that's all the more reason, again, to use technology to nurture those relationships. Having an automated or semi-automated way to manage those relationships, it might seem a little bit conjured up or a little bit artificial, but not having a system in place means that you're likely not going to keep up with those folks that are important to you, important to your business. So even having a system for reminders to reach out to this person or that person or follow up with this person about some task that you've got going on, some project you have going on a regular basis, that's going to be better than nothing, right? So we highly recommend using something like that. HubSpot is free, so I would definitely recommend getting a demo of HubSpot. In addition to Asana, what I mentioned earlier, you can record notes in there on different relationships that you have in there. We tend to manage our relationships with investors, business partners, lenders, property managers, different leads for properties, you name it. And what's great is it's really scalable, and you can modify it very easily. So you can tag contacts if you want to organize them in some way. So for example, is this person a good potential partner in the future? Are they looking for projects like XYZ? Are they focused in a certain market that you're interested in? Maybe they're not in multifamily, but maybe they're in hospitality. And so you want to tag them with that. So it's really scalable. And again, it gives you a lot of leeway and flexibility to be able to manage those relationships. So lastly, all of these tools have been around how do you save your time? How do you leverage your time to the best use? I know in real estate, we often talk about highest and best use for property. And I think I would highly encourage any entrepreneur out there in real estate or otherwise to think about their own time in terms of highest and best use. And so a lot of these have been technologies and tools, but I think when we think about this, one way to also use your time most effectively is to think about who can I outsource this to? So whether that's a virtual assistant or a partner or somebody that you're able to hire, again, it's all about leveraging your time. So we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and there are folks out there like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and other entrepreneurs, Mark Cuban, that are doing probably tens, hundreds, thousands of times the amount of stuff that you're doing on a given day. So how did they get it done with the same 24 hours in a day? It's delegation, more than likely. Our time is precious, and we would highly encourage you all to think about maybe looking into a virtual assistant. There are a lot of really high quality virtual assistants now. We're in a world where, especially post-pandemic, there are a lot of people that are really location agnostic. They're digital nomads traveling around the world, and a lot of their team is spread out all across the world. We have many friends that are in that situation, and that's one of the beauties of commercial real estate is you can have that. It allows you to have your team kind of spread out, and so as a result of that, you can hire out some of your lower value tasks, maybe some of your tasks that aren't really kind of value add to you or your business. They're kind of just things that need to get done. This is the same way that a lot of the large multinational Fortune 500 companies look at their businesses. How can we outsource, or how can we take more off our plate and outsource it to lower cost labor? And so I think that probably is incumbent on us to be able to think about our businesses the same way. Is how can you spend less time doing tedious tasks and maybe outsource that to somebody overseas that's able to get it done at a fraction of the cost? We work with companies or professionals from the Philippines and South America for content creation, for video editing, like this video, for example, for administrative work, and much, much more. We get days back every single week by outsourcing, and probably only spend a few $100s every month doing so. And so the value of our time is well worth that. And so if we're able to refocus that time that would be spent on those things, on pushing our business forward, then it's going to make all the sense. In today's world, there's really no excuse not to leverage VAs in your business, especially for the boring, low-hanging fruit, the low-value tasks, so that you can focus on what you do best as an entrepreneur. And that's the higher value tasks and really building your business. So I hope this has been helpful. We've tried to disclose a number of different hacks, technologies, tools, and people that you can leverage to be able to get more out of your day as a busy entrepreneur. And for any questions, feel free to reach out. We'll sign off as we always do at Maple Capital Partners. Be kind, be charitable, and invest wisely. Thanks, folks.